Good afternoon and a very warm welcome indeed to today's iOB business webinar. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. My name is Ben and I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business, and I will be the one talking you through today's webinar presentation. So for those of you joining us for the first time, a very warm welcome, and we'll run through a little bit about how these webinars operate so that you get the most from today's session. And if you're joining us again for the second, third, fourth, fifth time and so on, it's very, very great to see you back. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to join us once again. Okay, perfect. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time, if you would like to ask any questions throughout today's session, you're absolutely more than welcome to do so. Please do feel free to pop your questions into the grey Q&A box at the bottom of the screen there, and we will get those questions answered for you at the end during today's Q&A session. Okay, now, also important to note that in between each of the three core topics that we're going to be speaking about today, you will also have the chance to jot down any questions and indeed ask away with any questions that you might have to ask, as well as we're going to take a good pause between each of the three core topics to make sure that everybody has time to do that for today's session. Okay, so let's get the camera switched off there and we will pick up the webinar presentation on screen there. Okay, so in just a moment's time, we should be able to see the presentation that we have for you today up on the screen. And you now should not be able to see my face anymore, but you should still be able to hear my voice. And you should be able to see a screen that says motivating yourself when the odds are against you. Okay, so very, very big topic of conversation, something that's very, very important to talk about in today's day and age in business. Okay, so if you could just do me a favor, please, and drop in the chat box, make sure that you can hear my voice okay, and indeed you can see the presentation up on screen okay there as well. And then I will know that we're ready to get kicked off with today's session. Just a thumbs up, smiley face, yes, whatever works for you. And then I will know that we are ready to rock. Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Excellent. Okay, grand. So let's get kicked off with today's session then. If you do have any issues, not that we ever expect to have any, but if you do have any technical issues with today's webinar, please do let us know in the chat box and we'll do what we can to help you out there and get you back on track. Okay, so motivating yourself when the odds are against you. Let's talk about this then. Okay, so your presenter today is myself. My name is Ben and I'm a business coach. I specialize in working with small businesses to help them achieve stability and growth. It's what I love. It's what I get to do every single day. And it's a genuine pleasure to be on here presenting this webinar with you today. Okay, so discussion points from today. We've got three core topics as always, beginning with number one. Each knock is an experience gained, okay? We're going to talk about what this means in good detail. Number two, is motivation the key word? Okay, we're asking this question very, very deliberately, and I'm going to tell you why during topic number two today. And number three, you implement consistency, okay? These three things are what we are going to talk about and what we are going to use to drive ourselves forward today. Okay, so beginning with number one, each knock is an experience gained. Let's talk about it, okay? Now, rolling with the punches is a term that comes to mind when looking at getting knocked down, okay? There's a very, very common phrase that is used amongst us, and it's essentially defined by saying that we've got to roll with the punches, okay? And really what that means is no matter how many times we get knocked down, we have to continue moving forward and continue believing in what it is that we are trying to do. Okay, imagine you're training for a marathon, you take an injury to your leg, you have to give that leg time to recover, you have to get back in rehabilitation, and you have to start running again. Okay, that is a classic example of rolling with the punches. It's a term that comes to mind when we're looking at getting knocked down because we have to keep moving forward even when it seems like the odds are stacked against us. Okay, so this is a phrase that I would love for you to keep in mind whenever you are doing something that's difficult, doing something for the first time, or trying to press forward with a certain element of your business, okay? Keep in mind rolling with the punches and let yourself know that it's not always going to be a straight or easy line, okay? We roll with the punches, we make sure that we keep moving forward even when we're getting knocked down, okay? It's better to accept that we will have knocks and move forward anyway, rather than assuming we'll never have a bad day and we'll never experience failure, okay? If we tell ourselves, no, it's fine, I don't have bad days and I'm never going to fail at anything that I do, what we could be doing here is setting ourselves up for an even harder fall than necessary, okay? Because the reality of it is, not every day is going to be a good day. Not every day is going to be an easy day. Not every experience is going to be a smooth and or easy experience, okay? Things are difficult. Things are tricky, okay? This can happen and very, very likely will happen in your business. You will be faced with a situation that is difficult. You'll be faced with a situation that might cause a little bit of stress. Okay. It is just how businesses operate. Okay. And it's how much of life operates as well. Sometimes things worth doing are not always easy, right? I'm sure you've heard that one before as well. It's much better to accept that we will have these knocks, okay, and that we will experience these failures, because if we do this, we embrace it. We embrace the fact, we say, yeah, okay, that's fine. Give me a knock. Okay, that's fine. Give me a failure, because I will learn from it. I will come back to doing what I was doing, despite the fact that I've been knocked down, despite the fact that I've failed before. Okay, we try again and again and again and again. It is extraordinarily unlikely that whatever you do is going to be absolutely flawless the first time around. Okay, we take these knocks, we take these failures, and we move forward anyway because we learn from them. We get back up after the knock, we learn from the failure, and we press forward. That's what we do. Okay, that is what a great entrepreneur does. So each time something bad happens, there are likely multiple things that we can learn from it. Okay, this is how I want to get our brains thinking going forwards. We must absolutely focus on, okay, yes, that was a failure. Okay, yes, that was a mistake. We don't go into denial about the fact that it didn't work. Okay, it absolutely did not work. We ask ourselves the questions why. Okay, it's only truly a genuine failure in business if we learn absolutely nothing from it. Okay, I say that an awful lot as well because it's absolutely accurate when it's used in the context that we are talking about today. Okay, that is only truly a failure in business if you learn absolutely nothing from it. Okay, a bad advertising campaign, that's fine. As long as you took precautions, as long as you mitigated the risk, okay, we can learn from it and figure out what it was that went wrong and how we can improve that for ourselves going forwards. Okay, we must always look at things that went wrong. We must always look at things that we have failed in to ensure that these do not happen again, but in essence to learn from them and make sure that we can actually boost ourselves further forward based on the things that we know not to do. Okay, we know not to do that again. We know what to avoid, we know why to avoid it. Okay, so each time that something bad happens, there are likely multiple things that we can learn from it. Okay, now that bad advertising campaign is just one example. If a prospecting meeting didn't go the way that you wanted it to, why? What went wrong? Did you not ask for feedback? Did you not have a chat? Did you not ask open-ended questions? Okay, or let's say that it was a client meeting. Okay, somebody's currently a client and that didn't go well. Why is it? Were expectations not set, or were unrealistic promises made? Okay, did you set yourself up for a downfall there potentially? What was it that could have went wrong? Okay, so each time something bad happens, there's likely multiple things that we can learn from it to press ourselves forward with. Now, focus on this term. Each time I get knocked down, I learn something new and I get back up stronger than I was before. Okay, this is a phrase that I would very much encourage you to keep in your head. Number one, roll with the punches. Number two, each time I get knocked down, I learn something new and I get back up stronger than I was before. Okay, you are going forward more efficiently, more quickly, faster, stronger. You know exactly where you want to go and you keep going in that direction, even though you've been knocked down a few times, okay? Because you've learned from those mistakes, you've gotten back up from being knocked down, and you know what you're going to do differently this time. All right, so that brings us to the end of topic number two. The end of topic number one. I'll see you again in just a moment's time for topic number two. Fantastic. So let's move ourselves on to topic number two then. We're going to ask ourselves the question now, is motivation the key word? Okay. Now, motivation could be implied as a temporary measure for a burst of energy. Okay. There's going to be some days where naturally you feel more motivated. Maybe you've had a better sleep. Maybe you're feeling happier that day. Maybe you're feeling stronger that day. Okay. Motivation would typically be referred to as something, somehow, some way has made you feel like you can do this. Okay. Now, motivation is usually only a temporary measure. Okay. The word motivation, it could be implied as a temporary measure for a burst of energy. Okay. So sometimes you hear the phrases, I'm really motivated, or I'm super motivated, I'm going to get this done. Okay, great. But what we've got to make sure is that that motivation is not just temporary. Okay, so if we look at the fact that the word motivation could be applied as something that is simply a temporary measure, meaning it's not going to last as long as we need it to last. Okay. It is only going to last a specific amount of time because we're feeling good for one reason or another. We've watched a motivational video, we listened to a song that we really like, we woke up on the right side of the bed this morning. Okay. Any one of these reasons that we are feeling temporarily motivated. Okay. And it could be implied as a temporary measure for a burst of energy. Okay. Now, let's look at a different word. Discipline is the ability to continue moving forward day in and day out. Okay. Discipline will take care of you, take care of your business, even when the motivation is not there. So if I had to pick between the two words that I was going to use, I would use the word discipline. Okay. Because it shows that you absolutely can and will get these things done day in, day out, even when the motivation isn't there. Now, I'm not saying that motivation is a bad thing, because it's absolutely not. It is a wonderful, fantastic thing that can help you drive forward when you're having lulls in energy, when you're feeling something drop a little bit. Okay. But motivation typically is received as a temporary measure. Okay. Discipline is the ability to do something even when you do not want to do it. Okay. If you are working out, if you are writing an essay, if you are creating content, if you are recording videos, if you're working on a project, if you're getting to work for a certain time, if you're doing the daily commute, whatever that is, it is discipline. Okay. If you're going to bed at the same time every night, if you're eating 3 healthy square meals a day, it's all discipline. Okay. It's the ability to continue doing it even when you don't want that healthy dinner. Okay. It's the ability to continue moving forward day in and day out, doing something that you promised yourself you were going to do. Okay. So consider retraining your mind to think less about motivation and more about instilling lasting, productive habits. Okay. So the next time you make a commitment, next time you say you're going to do something, day in, day out, continually see it through. Okay. It is simply a matter of discipline over temporary motivation, because often when we begin to do almost anything, right at the beginning, it's exciting, it's fun, it's novel. Okay. Now, whether it be a day, a week, a month, a year, until this novelty wears off, we eventually begin feeling like, oh, actually, I don't really feel like doing this. I don't want to do this today. The weather outside is bad, so I don't want to commute. Or, it's just looking a bit bleak and it's not something I really feel like doing today. Oh, I'm tired. I don't want to do that project today. Okay. It is discipline that will pick you up and make you do that anyway, because you committed to yourself. You promised yourself that you were going to get this done. Okay. Especially if you were a business owner, you are the one that very likely made that commitment to yourself. As a business owner, we don't have anyone telling us, please get this done for this time and this date. We set our own expectations. Okay. Now we do have client deadlines and things like that, but ultimately it's us that agrees to get it done for that time and date. Okay. So retrain your mind to think less about motivation and more about instilling these lasting, productive habits. Okay. If you need to start getting up earlier to get more done, consider making sure that you get yourself to bed for a reasonable time every night. Okay. That singular productive habit helps the other habit. Okay. So the first singular productive habit is I'm going to go to bed for 10 p.m. every night. That then has a knock-on effect in a very positive way to, okay, I can get up at 6 every day. I've had 8 hours of sleep. I feel great. Okay. But if you're going to bed at 3 a.m., trying to wake up at 6 a.m., it's going to be very, very difficult. Okay. So retrain your mind to think about how you can instill long-lasting, productive habits until they just become a permanent way of life. Okay. Now, if you do need motivation, okay, if you're working with the discipline, but you just want to feel better, you just want to feel more excited, think about your why. Okay. On a personal level, this is something that always helps me. Whenever I'm feeling like the cards are stacked against me, or I've got so much to do, or I'm just not feeling it that day, I ask my why. Why am I here? Why am I at this desk? Why am I doing this project? Why am I taking this meeting? Why am I doing X, Y, Z for this business? Okay. And everybody has their own motivators. Everybody has their own reason why they would want to get into their own business, why they want to build something for themselves, their families in the future. Okay. Think about your why, because if you need motivation, this should be something that drives you forward. This should be something that makes you get up and out of bed in the morning and makes you have a great day. Okay. Think about your why. Why are you here? Why are you doing this? Why are you building this business? Okay. If you cannot answer those questions, you might find yourself struggling with discipline and motivation. Okay, so that brings us to the end of topic number 2. I'll see you again in just a moment for topic number 3, the third and final topic of today's conversation. Okay, wonderful. So let's move ourselves on to topic number 3 then. You implement consistency. Okay, we're talking about how to motivate ourselves even when the odds are stacked against us. Okay, so what you do is you implement consistency. Consistent habits keep driving you forward. Okay, consistency is applicable whether you're having an outstandingly great day or a bad one. Okay, if you consistently agree with yourself to get these things done day in and day out, you will find yourself consistently having a pretty good day. Okay, most likely, if you stick with the productive habits that you have agreed with yourself. Okay, because even if you are having a bad day, if you get done what you need to get done, that is something to feel good about. That is an achievement. That is a milestone achieved for you. Okay, you can look at yourself and say, I did that. That was me. Okay, and even though I actually wasn't having a great day, even though I felt pretty rubbish today, I still decided to get up and do that and get it done anyway. Okay, so consistency is applicable whether you're having an outstandingly great day or indeed a bad one. Okay, now let's talk about leadership for a minute. Okay, you lead by example, especially if you have a team or anyone else relying on you. They must always see their leader moving forwards. Okay, if you think about any great organization you ever worked with, any great organization you've ever been a part of, if you were, part of a sports team when you were younger, did you ever see your coach arrive and just kick the floor, look down, walk away, not interested? Okay, maybe you did, but I hope that you didn't. Okay, because the leader always shows consistency. Even when you didn't feel like going to football practice that night, your coach was there, your coach was ready to coach you and make sure that you had a good session. Okay, and that's just one example. There are so many examples of this. Okay, you lead by example. Anytime you were in a classroom, as when you were younger, okay, in school, your teacher was always there, always ready to teach you. Okay, you lead by example. If your teacher was just sitting at their desk, not doing anything, the whole class would have no idea what to do. Okay, you lead by example, especially if you have a team or anyone else relying on you. They must see you moving forwards, and that for many is one of these motivators that we're talking about. This is one of their whys. Okay, my why is that I have other people to think about. I have other people to take care of. So I show up and I get done what I need to do that day, and I do it with a positive attitude, even when it seems like the odds are seemingly stacked against me. Okay, so consistency is not only applicable to business, it affects your day-to-day life. We're talking about this in a business context, getting tasks done, arriving to meetings on time, managing our calendar well, managing our pipeline well, okay, prospecting, marketing, doing sales, all of these things that it takes to run a business well. Okay, but it's not only applicable to our business, it also affects our day-to-day life. If we consistently get up at 6 a.m., we consistently give ourselves a good morning, we're probably consistently going to have a decent day. All right. But if we start sleeping in till 10, 11, midday, we might find ourselves having a bit of a rocky day from time to time. Okay. If we get up at 12, we've missed the first 3 meetings of the day, that's very, very likely to set you on a bad track then for the rest of the day, potentially even the rest of the week, because you spend the rest of the week trying to catch up on what you've missed. Okay, consistency is not only applicable to business, it is an extraordinary skill to possess in your day-to-day life. All right, now personal routines and productive habits will overflow into your business in a very healthy way if you as a person are implementing consistently productive habits in your day-to-day life. Okay, you're amazing at task management, you're very, very good at organization, you make sure that you get yourself to where you need to be at every time, on time. Okay, if you do these things, if you practice these methods in your day-to-day life, they will inevitably flow into your business life. Okay, it would be very, very difficult for you to be disorganized in business if you are naturally a very organized person in your day-to-day personal life. Okay, if you are strict with yourself in your personal life, you will be strict with yourself in your business life. These things typically overflow, okay, in a very, very positive, very, very productive way. So that brings us to the end of topic number 3 and the end of the webinar for today's conversation. What we'll do in just a moment's time is run through the recap of today's webinar, and then we will go on to pick up the questions that I have from you on today's session as well. So we'll do that in just a moment's time after one final brief pause. Okay, fantastic. So let's move on to the recap for today's session then. Number one, we learn from each setback. Every time we get knocked down or we fail, we learn from it and we continue moving forwards. Number two, combine motivation with discipline. Okay, it is discipline that helps us get done what we need to do every single day. And number three, remain consistent. Okay, consistency in your personal life will help you with consistency in your business life. All right. So as always, a massive thank you for taking the time to join us on today's session. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you'd like to talk to a member of our team, you'd be more than welcome to head over to iob-business.com/talk-to-us. And on this link, you can book a call at a time that suits you. When you go onto this link, you'll see a calendar that looks just like this one, and you can pick a date and time that works best for you. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up on screen for you just now. Meanwhile, I'm going to go and grab the questions that I have from you for today's session. Question number one, I struggle with consistency. Okay, cool. So let's talk about this then. Are you doing too much? Okay, where is the struggle coming from? So what I would ask you to do is essentially conduct a brief analysis of what you do day to day and then reevaluate. Because if you're trying to cram a million things into your day to day, or you're trying to take on far too many projects, far too many tasks at one time, it can be difficult to remain consistent. Okay, what you're better doing is becoming consistent with one thing. Then once you're consistent with that, add in a second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. Okay, we don't want to essentially decide that we're going to do a bunch of new and different things and we're going to do them all at once, because then all of a sudden, imagine you're juggling, you're trying to keep up with all this, and you're trying to make sure that everything is getting done, when in actual fact, you might be putting too much on your plate. Okay, so my advice would be, look at how much you're doing, potentially consider taking on one new thing at a time, okay, or one new habit at a time. It's a great question. Thank you for asking. Question number two, I really struggle when I get knocked down. Absolutely, I get it, and you're not alone, okay? Speak to those around you about times when they struggled, okay? Speak to those around you about times where they got knocked down. Maybe we can learn from this. Maybe there's stuff to be learned from other people who also got knocked down, who also struggled, okay? It might help you very much to realize that the chances are you're not the only one. Whatever it is that you're going through right now, as much as you might feel like you're the only one, the chances are you're probably not the only one, okay? So speak to somebody about a time where they struggled in business. Speak to somebody about a time they got knocked down in business. Speak to somebody about a time that they were struggling in general with moving their business forward. It could very much help you. Always a great thing to bounce these ideas off other people. Okay, another amazing question. Thank you so much, and I hope that that answer helps. Do we have any more questions from today's session? No? Okay, fantastic. Well, it looks like that is us then for today's IOB business webinar. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you ever so much for taking the time to attend. I very much look forward to seeing you again on the next IOB business webinar. Take care, and bye for now.